Hi, and welcome back to I Quit Wine. I'm your host, Sarah Leather, and today my topic it's a fairly personal one, but it's really relatable to so many of the women I speak to who are really looking to change their relationship with alcohol. And I am talking about when and why the last time that I drank. And I speak to a lot of women about the last time that they had a drink, and it's really interesting to see what's going on. And because it's normally to do one thing, there's one reason why we drink, and that reason is to change our emotional state, to change an emotion, to try and shift a way that we're feeling that we don't like. And that can be a sort of like a hard emotion, something like shame or guilt or grief or disappointment or regret or resentment, so many different things. But it can also be what will be construed as a positive emotion. There really aren't positive and negative emotions, but the ones that are sort of, you think like, well, I want to feel this, and it can be like excitement. That is something that can feel hard. Joy. I mean, the great researcher and presenter Brene Brown says that, like, from her research, like, joy is the hardest emotion for us to actually feel. So when our nervous systems get dysregulated, or we feel a bit off or a bit thrown, we can then feel emotions that are really, really hard. And it depends how well you can manage your emotions in your body. Emotions, feelings are similar to sensations or vibrations in your body. And it's often, and I was trained when I trained in my last sort of big coaching certification, was all around like, no emotion can harm you. They're just vibrations in your body, they will pass. However, that can feel really hard. It can still feel really, really hard. And it does depend on the current state of your nervous system. And there's lots of things wrapped into it, like how much of like past trauma has been processed or being sort of like held onto in your body. There's so many different layers that go into it as to how different emotions will actually affect you, because you very often your thinking can actually come from your emotion. Though if you look at the typical sort of cognitive thought model of coaching, of cognitive behavioral therapy, of different therapies, will then, your thoughts create your feelings and your emotions, and then you take your actions from there. But if you look more at a therapy model, so the cognitive model is kind of like top down, the therapy model is kind of like bottom up, and it's just like your feelings and emotions are there first, and then your thinking comes from that, depending on how you're feeling. And there's a lot of like even nearly so debate into which one is right, and they're both right. They both can be true, that sometimes it's one more than the other, and it it doesn't really matter. And one way I like to look at it, like, what if it's inside out? What if it's just like how you're feeling on the inside is creating your current experience? And you get to decide then how much attention you give the thinking that comes from it. So when I was thinking about the last time that I drank, it was like, if anybody was looking from the outside, it was like we had a big family event and it was all going to be fun. And yes, looking forward to it. But also at that time, when I'm thinking about it now, is I was actually feeling quite sad at the time. If I'd be completely honest, I was feeling quite sad. I was actually even feeling a little bit lonely. It was probably rooted in some kind of grief as well, a loss, but those emotions were there. And I then, from those emotions, had the thinking, I don't even know if I want to go if I don't have a drink. And then my thinking went to like, I'm going to have so much fun because I'm going to have some alcohol and it's going to be great. And as soon as I started having that thinking, I actually even started drinking before the event, not on the day, but like the evenings before the event a couple of times. Because once I sort of like opened that door to like, drinking is fun, I can't, like, I'm not doing this without alcohol. Like, this is like, I don't even know if I'll go without it. And there were lots of reasons why I was going to go. Like, that not going sort of wasn't really a question. I know that's always a choice, but because of the circumstances, that wasn't, that, that for me, that wasn't even available to me. And I wanted to go, but I wanted to go not feeling lonely and sad. I wanted to go feeling happy and looking forward to having a few drinks and really enjoying myself. And it was really interesting because I did go and I did have a few drinks and I did enjoy myself. And the next day, how did I feel? Pretty rotten. And looking back at it now, I can really see the truth in it because it has nothing to do with the thinking that I won't enjoy myself without alcohol or anything else, any of the other thinking around it. It was, I mean, that's what I used as the evidence to back up my thinking. What was really going on was like, that's what alcohol does. That's the way it plays out for me. Yes, there are some people that can just go and drink at an event and not think about it again until the next event or the next time they're out. I'm like probably you if you're listening to this, and probably a good, some people estimate maybe 20-30% of the population that are more the like all or nothing kind of people rather than the moderate kind of personalities that will have something that is the go-to thing that they spend a lot of time and effort and thinking over trying to overcome. And for me, that's alcohol. And if you listen to this, it's probably for you too. That's probably your thing. And is that fair that it's your thing? I don't think it's a question of fairness. I think it's just the way it is. And yes, there is, when you look at the research, particularly around addiction studies and things, there are a lot of things contributing to it, particularly adverse childhood events would be one of them. There's lots and lots of reasons why. There's societal conditioning, there's genetics, there's not so much genetics, but family, like, who's been in your environment, all that kind of thing. But really, at the end of the day, it is most people have something, like some people, it might not be so obvious, but it might be other things that they're kind of like addicted to or have a problem with. And that might be being really negative or being really bitchy or being addicted to being right all the time. They spend all day, every day trying to be right about something. And that's pretty hard to live with as well. If you know somebody like that, you know what I mean. There are so many things that most people have something that they're working on. And like for the longest time for me, it's alcohol was what I was working on. And then at other times it's been around different food things. It's been like decades ago, it was smoking. Like I spent a decade from my early 20s, I think was the first time I stopped, to my, I think early 30s is around the last time that I smoked. So like it's like people have something, but it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. What matters is how much attention are you paying the thinking around drinking, because our brains are like if you're watching the news and the ticker tape that's going along the bottom and it's telling all the terrible stories from the day that's going over and over and over and over again, and we can sit there staring at the ticker tape, or we can just look away and not dive into it. So you can have that thought, I won't enjoy myself without a drink. And you can just go like, ticker tape, let it go, and carry on with your day and not dive into it, not start looking for evidence as to why. And it's it is such a pervasive thing, because what the real truth is that when you drink, and I can absolutely say this for when I last drank, it was like I lost myself in that. It's just like we lose ourselves by degrees every single time we drink, particularly if we've said, "I'm not going to do this anymore." And I know it's it's all about, like, what do you want your relationship with alcohol to be? For me, it's about getting back to a place of being, like, disinterested in it, and it having no hold and no power over me, and being able to just, like, not even noticing if other people are drinking or not, unless it's adversely affecting me, of course, and then I will remove myself. Um, but it's like, what do you want it to be? What do you want that relationship to be? And some of the women I work with, they are really happy to be drinking less than they were before, and to be having several days a week where they don't drink anymore. And that was my journey, like 15 plus years ago, was beginning to have alcohol-free days in the week. And that grew and grew and grew until it was just like drinking maybe once a month or once every 2 weeks, and then it was having chunks of time without alcohol that got longer and longer, and then it became a couple of times a year. And it's, that doesn't work for everybody has a different relationship and a different way of doing it, but you can absolutely do it, like, depending on what are your goals. Like, when I coach somebody around their drinking, the first thing I ask them is like, "What's your goal here? Like, what's your intention with alcohol? What do you want your relationship with it to be?" And some will say like, "I'm so sick of it. I keep saying I'm stopping and I keep starting again and I'm so over it." And others will say, "I'm actually drinking less. I'm being more mindful. I am And when I do drink, I am drinking less on less days, and I'm happy with that for now." I've heard that from quite a few women over the past year. So for you, what is it? What is it that you really want? Because I know if you listen to the first episode of my podcast, it was all about what do you want? And for me, when I first thought about it, I wanted to have 2 drinks twice a week. I'm like, I'd be so happy if I could do that. And I tried that for a very long time and it didn't work because I know if I have any alcohol, I'm thinking about it for at least 2 weeks afterwards. And then it becomes like holding the beach ball under the water. It's effortful. And like, now I've finally come to the place where there's too much living for me to do to be like that. And like, even like this time last week, I had just got out of hospital from having an episode of a very rapid heartbeat for many hours. It's called SVT. You may have heard of it. And I I just got this real glimpse of how precious life is, and how we do get to be custodians of our own health. We have agency over what we consume. And it's like respecting myself and my body enough not to do things that are, are not on the path that I want to be on. And it's funny now navigating a caffeine-free life, so which means no coffee and no chocolate for me, and to decrease the chance of it happening again, along with other things. Um, and that's like I'm going through a few little temper tantrums around that. Like, I walked into the kitchen, my husband was working from the kitchen table a couple of days ago, and I walked in there, I'm like, I really miss coffee. I'd really love a cup of really nice coffee. I've had a decaf and no, that's not it. And I've got this really nice, good organic decaf, and it's like, no, that's not it. Um, because I wasn't getting the lift. I wasn't getting the that feeling of like a little bit more energy that I was getting from coffee and even from having dark chocolate. Um, and that was really interesting as well, is that it's I was like I thought I was drinking coffee because I really liked the taste of it. I liked the smell of it. I liked the taste of it. And really what I liked was the buzz. Even though I didn't think it was a big thing, I realize now that I'm not having it, it was fairly big, and really helped me in the morning to do my work and everything. And and it was the same with alcohol. I used to tell myself that lie that like I love the taste, I love the taste, and yeah, maybe I grew to love the taste over time. But what I really loved was the buzz from it. It was that of feeling from that like second drink or third drink. And it's like what we're thinking and the stories we're telling ourselves are so potent in this whole thing. So I'd love to hear from you. What's coming up for you from this? What's landed with you? Feel free to share it with me. I would just be such a pleasure to hear from you what's going on. And if you would like some support with this, I have my beautiful IQW, standing for I Quit Wine, collective, the IQW Collective. And with that, you get all my two courses, my two programs around stopping drinking. One's the IQW Academy, and one is the IQW Freedom Formula as well. And there's so much in there. There's so much gold in there, and I'm adding to it every time I'm doing it. I do a recording or something most weeks and share my thoughts and what I feel like people need to hear around this topic. And you also, at the moment, this probably won't last for long, but at the moment, you also get 2 one-on-one calls with me as well. The first one to really figure out what you want and what's the plan forward with that, and really hearing. I just really sit with women on this first call and really hear where they're at with it, because I get it, and I give them whatever tools they need to move towards what it is that they really want around their relationship with alcohol. And there's absolutely no judgment with, you don't have to plan to stop forever. That's too hard for most. That's a process. Like it took me like 2 decades. So there's no hurry. Like I took my sweet time over it, and I really, really get it. And then in the second session, you get exactly what you need to really embed everything and embody it and keep moving along the direction, the path. And of course, if you want more sessions, that they can be made available as well. And I also have a link just for a single session. If anybody just wants to have one session to really explore what it is that you want in relation to alcohol, and what it is that you know we look at, like, why are you drinking? Like I shared with you before, why I was drinking, it was some emotional thing, and then it turns out that it really was my thinking around it. It was my it's our belief systems that just keep driving us, and they are what need to change to really get to a place of what's called emotional sobriety, of where the balance, and that was the really real reason why I drank the last time, was that the balance went away from the emotional sobriety to the drinking. And it's like the more that you fill up your bucket with emotional sobriety, with all the tools that we do in the Freedom Formula or within IQW Collective, all of the tools in there really help to keep filling up that bucket of emotional sobriety. It's a process, it's a journey. It can't be sped up. It can't be sped up. You just do it. And there's as much support as you need available for that. So I'll pop the link below. But if you just go to the website, the iQuitWine.com website, you'll see the collective there. And it's a special price, particularly including those one-on-one sessions. So it would be my pleasure to have you have you joined me there? And I want to send you lots of love and know that, like, everything you want is available to you. But if you need hand figuring out what that is, I'm here. Take care and lots of love for now.